In this video today, we're going to be discussing 4 topics when it comes to Grand Arena Prep. What resources you need to use, how to scout your opponent, how to choose your counters, and how to set your defense. So what resources do you need? We'll start with the Hotbot. It is the simplest and one of the best resources for GAC Prep that there is. It's a Discord bot that generates a compare list between you and your opponent. In order to use this bot, you can join my Discord, which I'll have a link for down below, or your guild might have Hotbot in their Discord. You have to register by typing !register and your ally code, and it will link your ally code to your Discord ID. From then on, for free, you can, once every 24 hours, compare your ally code to another person's ally code. When you generate a Hotbot compare, this is what you're given. This is a JPEG file generated aggregating data from SWGoH.gg. Now what this shows us is there's a lot of information here that's important to look at, and it will show you your opponent's tendencies and their strengths and weaknesses to a certain extent. So one of the first things you want to look at here, here we go, is lifetime score from Legacy Grand Arena Championships. So for this particular opponent, he had a lifetime score of 562,000 and mine was 792. Mine's actually kind of low for where I was sitting, but I missed a couple of signups early in when GAC was new. So we see that this player doesn't take GAC overly seriously. His best score is 35,000, so he doesn't seem to attack very often, and his current score is 7,000 compared to my 15,000. So he's not doing very well this season. Then you can look at the season stats here. This is something that's really important. I don't know why it's called season stats, because these are just overall stats. Offensive wins to defends, undersizes, and clears. We can see here that my opponent has half the offensive wins that I do, so he doesn't attempt to full clear usually. He's got quite a few defends compared to his offensive wins, which I'll get into in a moment. And he's got a fair amount of undersizes and very few clears. So we can tell that this player does not play super offensively. And one of the hints there is his defense to offensive wins ratio. Typically speaking, a player that plays regularly, takes it seriously, will generally speaking have about a 3-to-1 wins to defense ratio. So about 30%. That's about where I'm sitting at. This person is at almost 40%. So you can tell that this person probably places more on defense than they bring for offense. As you're going down here, this is important information. You know, it's your GP, whatever. You know, your gear 13, that's important, but not super important to know. The mods here, though, and especially right here, the G11 plus speed average and the top 80 plus speed average, you can see just at a glance how much faster your roster is than theirs. And then they have a breakdown of the mods: 10 to 14 speed, 15 to 19 speed, 20 to 24 speed, 25 plus speed. Now this information and this info here shows me that this is a person that does not have great mods. I have them beat in the total number of good mods and in how they are applied, as you can see with the higher speed averages. Then you've got the Relic Summary, which kind of just retells the information from up top. And then you can look at what Galactic Legends they have. This person has 2. I have none. This is my personal list of characters that I like to see. I have Malevolence in here because it's not in the ship meta area. I have gas. I just like to see what people's gas is like. Their GG to see if their health is low enough for my Bad Batch to counter. Nest, it's just nice to know what their nest is like, and their Maul, Bando, JKL, you know. In key characters, these are always here. You've got Darth Revan, you've got Cat, you got Maul, Piet, Gideon, and Echo. And then important ships, it shows whether or not they have the Executor or the Negotiator. And that's why I put the Malevolence right here. So the next major resource you want to use is the Omegabot. The Omegabot is an excellent Discord bot that you can find in my Discord, or your guild might have it in theirs. In order to use it, you need to register with /register and then your ally code, and that will link your ally code to your Discord ID. And then in order to scout a GAC, you type /scoutGAC, type in the ally code. So for this one is that, and then you can choose the last 5v5, and that's all you need to do. And then you can run it, and it will generate an image that aggregates all of the SWGoH.gg offensive and defensive information into a pretty easy to read graph. Now this is how you have to read the Omegabot. It looks like a lot, it looks very arcane at first, but after you've read it a few times, you kind of know what you're looking at. So first you want to look at defenses set. So this is my opponent. This was my last opponent in GAC at the end of the first season. And you can see which teams he put down. We have to set 11. So first thing I do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So he does get cleared, and he does switch up his defense from time to time. But you can see here, he's placed 8 Padmes, 7 GBAs, 6 Darth Revans, or these are fights actually. So these are how many times they were attacked. But you see that the consistents here are Padme, GBA, Darth Revan, Crew, Talzin, a little bit of Karth and Mon Mothma. And then we've got some of these other ones in here. And in green here, it shows times that they were defeated, and in orange here, it shows times that they defeated the attacker. So it looks like his Padme holds pretty well on defense. And as you can see, it'll show right here. Oh. There's my cursor. Right here, it'll show average banners by win. So people are averaging 46 banners against his Padme, 54 banners against his GBA, 53 against Darth Revan, 62 against Crew, etc., etc., etc. So now that you have an idea of what they use on defense, you can take a look at what they tend to use on offense. So they like to use CLS, Darth Vader lead, General Grievous, Greef Karga, Beskar Mando, Rolo, Newt. This person, if you look at just the leaderships here, they don't seem to understand team compositions very well. So you can leverage that to your advantage. And it shows how well they do. So they average 55 banners with their CLS, 63 with their Darth Vader, 60 with GG, etc., etc. This graph shows you the defenses seen by your opponent. So over here we've got Traya, General Grievous, Rex, Darth Revan, Talzin, Bosk, Mothma, GBA, Chirpa, and Negotiator. So the stuff on the left side they tend to struggle against, and as they go right they tend to do better against. So higher banners, obviously, generally speaking, this graph will just keep climbing. So this person struggles against Traya, has no idea how to beat it, loses once, quits twice. General Grievous lost 3 times to his 2 wins. Rex lead, lost once, won once. So you kind of get an idea. This particular one's a bad example because they don't attack much, but you get an idea of what they struggle against. Next, we have the attack timing. This is an excellent graph. This is something that is really, really good to see. You can see when your opponent tends to attack. So my opponent doesn't attack all the time. So here, this graph is not quite as filled up as it would normally be. But you see they tend to attack in the first 10 hours of GAC, occasionally later, and then sometimes at the very end, which was actually the case in my matchup with him. He did all of his attacks around here, and then at the very end he did a couple more just to see if he could clear anything else. There's also this mods thing, but this shows you pretty much the same information that you see on Hotbot, so not super important. This one's far more important. I like this a lot. Alright, this part I love. This shows their defense details, what they like to put on defense, and what the compositions of the teams are. So you can see that he likes his Padme on defense, and the tendency is to use GK, JK, C-3PO, and Ahsoka in there. And then it also shows you what people have brought against it and whether it was successful or not. So here, his Padme held against a Bosk, held against a Jedi Knight Luke, and then was eventually defeated by a Padme. Here, his Padme held against a Darth Revan, and then was eventually defeated by a Padme. These are great for telling you exactly what composition you're going to be going up against, and it gives you, at a glance, what teams have struggled against it. Now next, we have offense details. I don't find this to be quite as useful as the defensive details, but it's still good information to have. So it tells you what teams this guy likes to use on offense. Seems like he likes Chewie, R2-D2, Han Solo, and Lando in his CLS team. And he uses it against General Hux, GG, Darth Revan, Gideon Lead, Gas. He likes to use Thrawn, Palp, Tarkin, and Royal Guard in his Vader team, although occasionally swaps out TIE Fighter Pilot. And he uses them against the usual suspects, Mothma, GBA. Alright, the next important tool to use when scouting in GAC is the SWGoH.gg meta report. And it's just SWGoH.gg/GAC/counters. You can choose from a list of leaders, and it will show you the common counters. Well, it'll show you every counter to every team people have used. So I chose Padme. The comp that my opponent uses is this comp right here. So I can just click on Ahsoka there, and it'll add her to that. So it'll filter out every team that doesn't have Ahsoka. Same with JKA, C-3PO, and GK. Now it will show me how many times people have used certain counters against this team. So here the tendency is C kills her, Gas kills her 41 times in that season at 100% win rate with kind of low banners, but it's pretty much a guaranteed win. You've got Darth Revan 16 times, so not as common, but still used at 100% win rate for 58.5 banners. Not bad. SLKR here, and you've got Jedi Knight Revan here too. So this is an important tool to look up what counters you're going to be using. Another great tool for finding counters is GrandArenaScience.com. It's a great website. You can input every character that's on a comp that you're going to be facing, and it will bring up counters used by content creators with usually accompanying videos. So right here I've got all this. Let me add GK to this just to pare it down. It didn't pare it down because all of these comps are the same. But you can see here that there's a Vader or an EP Vader comp to Padme, and there's an accompanying video. You got 65 banners. A JKR comp to counter Padme for 59 banners, and it's got a video. So you can pick and choose what counters you want to use based on how other people have performed. Now we need to talk about finding a path to victory. After you've properly scouted your opponent, you can see his tendencies, then you can figure out where your path to victory lies. In this particular case, my opponent doesn't seem to like to attack a lot. When he does, he fails pretty consistently at certain things, and he just kind of gives up early, and he does not like to attack ships at all. So my path to victory is stopping him on the back wall with a defensive team after eating up his GLs, and stopping him on the back wall with my Executor, because I know he has no way to counter my Executor. So I believe that it's best to come up with an offensive plan first and then fill in the defense with what you've got left. So in the case of this opponent, I knew with relative certainty that he was going to place Bounty Hunters, CLS, General Grievous, Padme, Old Republic, Darth Revan, Gas, Qui-Gon Jinn, Bando with Nest, a Rogue One team, and then a kind of unknown team because of that Malik and Luke in there. I wasn't really sure what the last team was going to be. So I went to the meta report, found all of those teams. Obviously, some of the counters I just know by heart. Like, I'll probably take Troopers against Bounty Hunters. I was thinking about taking GG against CLS. Probably going to use Gas against Padme, like I showed you a little bit ago. So you go to the meta report, take the 11 teams that you think are going to be on defense, find each one of their counters, and pull them out. Have them set aside for offense. Typically speaking, I keep another 1 or 2 teams for offense, just in case I mess up and I can do a cleanup. So in this case, I made my offensive plan: Troopers versus Bounty Hunters, GG versus CLS, Night Sisters versus GG, Gas versus Padme, my First Order versus Old Republic, Darth Revan versus Darth Revan, CLS versus Gas, Vader versus Qui-Gon Jinn, Bando mirror match, Wampa versus Rogue One, and then I had Traya, Bad Batch, or Nest for whatever was left in the 11th slot. So after coming up with my offensive plan, this is when I set my defense. I knew this guy is not going to have a great time attacking ships, so I put my best fleet on defense, which is the Executor. It has very few counters, some of which are kind of complex, and this guy was not good at ships, so I knew Executor was a stop for him. I put Rebels in there too, just as filler, because I knew that even if he cleared those, he would not be able to clear the Executor. Then up front, I knew he wouldn't be able to clear the Executor, so I funneled him towards my Executor. I put Phoenix, Rebel Rubbish, Old Republic up front, up top, and this garbage leftover Resistance team. These are not teams I normally put on defense or use ever, really. But they were leftovers. I knew he would crush through that. I wanted him to crush through that top territory anyway, so that he would reveal ships and then realize, oh, I'm not going to be able to clear this. So I put garbage there to funnel him towards my win condition. And then down low, I put pretty much my best defensive teams that I had left over. So that included this Qui-Gon Jinn with JKL, my Geos, which I don't like putting on defense. I like them for offense, but I had no use for them on offense. My Bosk lead Bounty Hunters, which I like to use on offense also, but I had no use for them on offense this time around. And then my JKR, which it has become a pretty staple defensive team for me. And then behind that, I put a couple of garbage teams. This JTR team isn't really garbage, but this Finn here is a weak link. And my garbage Mon Mothma squad. And what's really important back here is I set a trap for him. If he used his GLs on the front wall, which I assumed he would not be able to get through my Padme with Cat, which is what he struggled against if you looked at the graphic earlier from the Omegabot. So I always try and place one really strong, really hard to beat team in the back, and then put as much in front of that as possible to eat up as many of their good counters as possible. Thank you for watching, everybody. I greatly appreciate it. I hope that this guide was helpful, and will help lead to more success for all of you in Grand Arena and getting those crystals to making this game just a little bit easier for everybody. Thanks again for coming, everybody. Peace out.